that eastern river rapids are more technical, with huge boulders on the edges and in the river's center, whereas western rivers generally carry a much larger volume of water over larger waterfalls going fairly straight. Today, Bill will be entertaining you with one rafting story where he successfully rafted, sort of, the Dimple Rapids on the Yacht River in Ohiopyle, Pennsylvania. Bill's speech is from project number 3 from the Competent Communicator Manual, Get to the Point. His objectives are to select a speech topic and determine its general and specific purposes, to organize the speech in a manner that best achieves those purposes, to ensure the beginning, body, and conclusion all tie into and reinforce the purposes, to project sincerity and conviction and control any nervousness. Strive not to use notes and incorporate suggestions from previous evaluations as he prepares and rehearses this speech. The time will be 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Bill.
If you're listening, you'll be able to hear the water up against my raft as I get it out into the river. My wife is in the left rear corner. My brother-in-law Dale is in the left front. My sister Kathy is in the right front, and I'm in the right rear. I'm the head of this raft trip. I'm the guide, and I like to be in the back so I can see everything. This is important. So now we're in the river. I'm getting into my raft. You sit on the tube. You put your left foot underneath this tube, and in this particular raft, they have a stirrup for your right foot. It's important to have your paddle in the water when you're rafting. And the reason it's important is that in the rapids, the hydrostatic pressure keeps you inside of the raft instead of joining the river outside of the raft. So it's important to be leaning a little bit to the inside and then keep that paddle in the water. We're going down the river. We're about a quarter of a mile from Dimple, and my wife is surprised. We hit an underwater rock that we didn't know about, and all of a sudden, she's like this. Her foot's in here, and she's like this. And she sees me look down the river first, because I didn't want to push her in the water where she would end up between a rock and the raft. She knew that I was deciding whether to push her foot out of the stirrup and put her in the river or bring her in. And she screamed, "Get me in the raft!" Fortunately, she held onto her paddle, had both hands on it, made it easy for me to grab, and I brought her in. We're in some rapids that are pretty light. We're paddling pretty hard. And then we come around the corner, and there's Dimple. Dimple Rock is about half the size of this room. And the river goes to the left just before Dimple, and then it makes a sharp turn to the right and goes right around Dimple Rock. So I'm telling my crew, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get close to the bank, and then we're going to shoot around to the left. And so we're paddling, and I'm saying, "Paddle harder!" And we were paddling hard. We were paddling as hard as we could. And we got down close to where the river turned, and guess what? The river didn't like my plan. It's too bad. We're paddling. Instead of the left front going down first over the waterfall, the right front went. That put us in kind of a bad position, because all of a sudden now I'm facing the embankment and we want to go that way. So I screamed to everybody, "Paddle backwards!" Well, there were people up on top of the rock, and they were watching us, fully expecting that the water was going to rush into our raft while we were in the hole, and we would be stuck there. So we started paddling backwards. And it was kind of weird, because you're in the hole, and all of a sudden the river goes, "Ugh," and spit you out. So now we're going backwards through the rapid, around the rock. We get through, and we're going through, and people are going like this, following our trails, going, I can't believe it. They did it. Well, we're paddling. We're paddling crazy. We get all the way around to the other side, and as we're on the other side, we stop for a second, because the nice thing about whitewater is it generally happens in big shifts of whitewater and then to calm water. So we ended up in the calm water. We turned ourselves around, started paddling down the river. We got a little bit further down the river. We're now in the next set of rapids. So I said to everybody before we got into the rapids, this time what we're going to do is we're going to go to the right. We're going to get through these rapids. And once we get through these rapids, then we're going to take a break. So we started down through those rapids. Well, the Eastern Rivers are rated on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being experts, 1 being tubing. Today, the Youghiogheny was 3s and 4s. So we were just below expert. I'm looking ahead, and I see what seems to be a pretty easy path. Well, we're going, and then all of a sudden we hit an unexpected hole. The front dipped down, and Dale and Kathy literally disappeared from my view. I went, uh-oh. And the next thing I knew, we were airborne as the raft kicked us out. And I'm looking down, and Kathy and Dale are rolling in the bottom of the raft, and I'm screaming, paddle! The raft got kicked back out. Linda and I landed in the back of the raft where we belonged, and the rest of the trip was pretty quiet. The lesson learned, though, is that sometimes you do not have control of everything in your planning. And sometimes things go against you. And when they do, adapt to that change, embrace the change, and you'll be much more successful. Thank you.
Everybody, please take just a minute and write a love note to Bill. Just a little bit more about cats before we start the picnic. Recently in the news, the killing of Cecil, the lion in Zimbabwe, has sparked worldwide outrage. While Cecil was not obviously a domestic house cat, he was a majestic lion who was the head of his tribe. There was multiple females, many children. You may not know, but approximately 600 lions are legally killed every year on trophy hunts. 60% of these are shipped to the United States as trophies. So if you're as outraged as I am, think about taking some action to stop more killings of majestic animals like Cecil. Next up, Becca.